So I have here Barney, who has come for a one-to-one lesson, and he's brought a very interesting tree for me to advise him on. So tell me something about the history of this tree.
So it's from my father-in-law's field. He had some sheep and some horses on there, so it's been knacked on continuously. So it was kept quite,
nice, yes.
kept quite small, and it got some interesting scarring.
Yeah.
It's quite a waterlocked field.
Yeah, as I say, alders grow in water, so you find
clay, heavy soil in there.
Okay.
And I had it out in spring, and I just tried to
You dug it up in the spring?
Yeah, I dug it up just before spring, and I tried to just keep it as compact as possible.
Yeah, very good. Okay.
Knowing that I would come here. So.
This tree has got a beautiful trunk. If we home in on this tree, look at it. That trunk is really thick over there, and it's got the makings of what we call very good taper. If I turn it round, let's not foreclose all the options. There are many different options for a front. As you know, all trees have a front and a back. So this tree, if we look at it again closely at the base, because that is what gives us a clue as to which would be the better front. If you remember this front, and if I turn it around, so this, remember, this I think is too narrow there, so we wouldn't use this as the front. This is too narrow as a front. The way it spreads this way, this makes a better front than the other side. And of course, the narrow side again, not so interesting. So if we remember this side and compare it with this side, both are interesting, but I would say probably that is more interesting. But always remember to keep an open mind. Now, most people are always tempted to make big trees, but big is not always the best. What we need to have is the trunk and the branches in proportion to each other. So although this trunk is thick, if you have thick branches like this, as I always say in my YouTube videos, it doesn't make the trunk look so big. Whereas if you have thin branches, then it makes this trunk big. So if this were my tree, or what I would advise you to do, get rid of this thick branch. Well, you tell me what you want to do.
I'll tell you what I thought I would do.
Yes.
But I didn't do it.
No? Okay.
So I thought this one was too
absolutely
thick.
Right.
And I thought if that is taken out, the taper actually goes up lovely. But I wasn't sure
which to use as the leader.
What to continue with.
All right. Okay, let's take it one step at a time. Are you familiar with using the saw? I can make you use it, or I can do it, whatever.
I'm happy for you to do the cut.
Huh?
I'm happy for you to do the cut.
Huh? Have you?
I've used the saw before, but I'm happy for you to do it.
All right, okay. So I'm going to cut that off, okay? As we say, it's not rocket science, so I'm going to... Alder wood is not very hard. It's elm which is hard. People always ask, what should I do at what time of the year? So I'm cutting branches. So this is autumn time. We're now 16th of November. It's quite safe to cut it. In fact, cutting thick branches, you can do it any time of the year, but the best time in my experience is in the summer. It may be contrary to what the perceived wisdom is. They always say that, oh, you should prune in the dormant season when things are not growing. I prefer to prune in summer. From all the years of experience I have of growing bonsai, if you cut in the summer, the reason why it's good is because whatever cut you make heals very fast. So it would callus literally in 1 or 2 months. So I always advocate summer cutting or summer pruning. Okay, now let's look at the tree again. So straight away, as you say, we've created a beautiful taper. If you look at that base, come close. This going up there, we've got a good taper. This young branch I will probably leave for now, because as I said, the young branches provide a good contrast to the tree. Get the leaves. Now, let me ask you again, where do you see the leader going? Now you have this, and this, 3. I know that trees in nature do grow like that, but for the bonsai design, we usually
really
prefer
want-
one.
Well, you probably wouldn't take that because it doesn't give it a lot of movement.
Mm-hmm.
The one in the back. The thing is,
That back one, why, would you remove it or keep it? Let's look at the tree from this side to see if we can make any sense of the tree from this side. No, this side is not as nice as the other side, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm? Okay. Keep analyzing the tree. Let's see. Would you keep this or not?
At the moment, it's not doing anything for
Why?
the tree
Why would you not keep it?
because it's
Too straight?
there's not a lot going on really.
Okay, you're right. It's not so interesting.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, it's not so interesting. So if it's not so interesting, let's get rid of it. So another cut. A lot of it is what we call method of elimination. By eliminating it step by step, you will get to the solution finally. So again, I try to remind people not to look too far ahead. The other day I had a workshop with 6 people, and one student was so keen. This dear lady, she was so keen, she was wanting to look so far ahead. Before we had wired the bottom branches, she said, what shall I do to the top? You know, they can't wait. It's a good thing to be so
Start at the
enthusiastic,
base
but
and
you know, you can't confuse yourself. Okay, now we're left with the choice of 2.
So the only problem that I would have with keeping that one is because there's so much scarring.
No,
going on
scarring
here.
sometimes is very nice.
But what about back budding? Would I
It
have
would
troubles
backbud. They
getting
backbud ever so easily. They backbud
all
ever
the-
so easily.
I did have to pick from the base even
Yes.
over the year. I'm not
They
sure.
would produce branches like this next year. You would
Yeah.
get literally scores of branches all over the tree. You get it from here and there. So the final design of the tree, as I see it, let me just bring a piece of paper, is that the tree should not be bigger than that. You see,
Mhm.
that is more in proportion. That would make the trunk look really thick.
I was hoping that because then I can fit it into my
Yeah.
car as well on the way home.
All right. Okay. So, question is, do you want that or not?
Yes, I'm happy to go low.
Cut this off.
I don't know.
Why don't you not? Well, let's reduce it
Let's reduce it. Yeah.
because we don't want the tree that tall anymore. Even this tree is too tall. What do you think? It's your tree. I don't want to deprive you of your design. It looks better already now.
It looks better already,
Okay,
definitely,
because
100%.
proportions are right.
Yeah. And if you
Yeah,
think
that
about
you can easily work.
things
Very
being
soft.
used there.
In fact, that thick branch I'll take off. I'll
Yeah.
put it there, and let the young branches grow from there.
I mean,
Okay.
what about that one? There's no possibility to get movement even when you split it. When you split it, it wouldn't
bend.
it wouldn't bend.
No, I think a lot of people are very not scared, but they are greedy in effect because they say, "Oh, that's a nice branch. Why should I cut it off?" But believe you me, can you see all these buds?
Okay.
If you cut it off, this tree will be full of young thin branches next year.
Yeah.
So you can keep it and see what happens. It fills that gap for now, but
Would
for
you-
the long term,
Would you take that one
and then let new branches grow.
and let new branches
New
grow?
branches go in. Or if you are quite happy to leave it as it is for now, why don't you leave it? And next year, if you don't like it, then cut it off, and then it will still sprout. If you keep pruning it throughout the growing season next year, you will get about 2 or 3 spurts of growth. You'll keep getting these buds. as I said, look at all these buds. These buds, you get, these are all dormant buds which will become branches. So the whole tree is going to be that shape. So you got a beautiful shape. This is the proportion of the tree that you want. See that going inwards, I would take off. It's better to have the branches going outward. Like that is really a fault. We should really take that off, you know. Don't let them go inwards. I know that you're going to reduce the tree, but for the longer term, even this is going inwards. It should go outwards. You see, all buds should point outwards. See, that's a nice bud, that's a nice bud, that not so. So that's how you would design the tree. So you can wait till next February to put it in a pot, or you can do it now because it's autumn time, but whatever you wish, you can do that.
So the thing is with this branch, to revisit that, it's not doing anything for the tree as it is right now. I think that the only option that I would have seen is to get it down somehow or get some movement.
Okay, what I suggest is leave it for now, let it grow more branches, and if you have a lot of branches growing there, then take it off. In fact, that is still too long. I would just take that off a little more and let it produce a completely new set of young branches. So at least you've got something to aspire to. It looks right, that shouldn't be going inwards, but when you get buds going that way, fill it out that way. So you get that sort of flame-shaped tree. So a very natural-looking tree. You can bend it, but trees like this, you don't even need to wire. You know, a lot of shape can be achieved without wiring. So that's a very nice tree. And if you're patient till February, you can repot it. Although I can guarantee you, because all the trees are so vigorous, you can even pot it up now. It would look, you would see something which resembles the bonsai. You could get it into, let's see, we always like using our plastic. This is a micro pot. It would go in that, or you put it in one of. There's so many different designs. We have a deep rectangular. Now this is a bit too small. No, we have deep rectangulars. We can put it in that.
Well, we have to get the soil off now.
Yes, you can. That's not a problem.
It's not a problem to do it now.
I can guarantee you that this is all. Okay.
All right.
So we are now teasing the soil off, and you can see that Barney here has left some of the original mud soil, which is perfectly okay, because when you lift a tree, you don't have to bare root it completely. Bare rooting stresses any tree, so we always be careful about bare rooting. So he's left some of the old soil and added new soil, and the soil he's used is a mixture of compost and I think, is it perlag?
Perlag, and that's a cat litter.
Cat litter, okay.
That is
okay.
not perfume, then it's clay.
All right, okay.
Instead of akadama, it was too expensive.
Okay, fine. So some of the original soil is there, which is the mud soil, and I was just going to point out all the trees, like the beans that you grow, these are called nodules, and apparently they provide nitrogen to the trees. I'm not a plant physiologist, but that's what I've been told. So that's not a disease, in case you think that these are diseases on the roots. These are just nodules that help the tree to grow well. Okay, now let's lift it and see how much root needs to be taken off. Just shake it so that you get some of the pockets. What beautiful roots. So all the tree is a very vigorous tree, so you don't have to worry too much. I think we can take some more soil from inside there. Of course, now that we are approaching the dormant period, this is middle of November, it's perfectly safe to do this sort of thing. Is there a big taproot there? If so, we can probably take it off.
I think there is one. I didn't go too far to the trunk.
Okay, now let's put it on the turntable and let's have a look, because okay, let's put it on the turntable and see. Thank you. If you just hold this for me. There is like a tap root there, and for the future, if you leave that to grow, we may have a problem putting it in a shallow pot. So because the tree has such a lot of root, I'm going to take some of that off. I don't need this taproot. It's got several taproots, so that makes it easier to fit the pot. Sometimes you can get a very thick taproot and that becomes very troublesome, but this is not so troublesome. Okay, so there you are. I think there's another root around here. Can you just hold it up for me? A lot of it is what we call common sense. Because the tree has such a lot of root, I can afford to take that sort of thing off. And these thick roots don't bother me that much, because what we need is a lot of fine root. Okay, so that thick one we can also take off. But you see what a lot of root we still have. With all that root, there is no fear of the tree suffering at all. I think that we can get it into that. So we just hold the tree 1 minute. I'm just going to take one back off. This one.
Which one?
The wood of alder trees is very, very soft. Now these would probably grow as root cuttings, so I suggest you keep that, put it in a pot, you get a new plant from there. Certain trees grow from root cuttings, and that is one of them. I still have plenty roots, so do not panic. Do not panic. This tree is not going to suffer. This tree won't die. I think we can get it into that pot. Now, you have two choices. Let me bring you another pot. I'll tell you why. You see the difference in the size of pot?
Mm.
Aesthetically, this pot is quite adequate. But if you plant it in this pot, it'll give the chance for this tree to grow even thicker. So the choice is completely yours. If you plant it in this, the tree will become thicker, faster, whereas if you keep it in a smaller pot, it won't grow so fast. So it's just a question of a few pounds difference. But for the future of the tree, I would suggest putting it in a larger pot for now. So
let it recover from what?
Not so much recover, it will help to thicken it and grow faster. You'll get more branches quicker. Whereas putting it in a small pot, you reduce the vigor of the tree. That's the only reason why we do that. And it doesn't look bad in this. It doesn't look bad in this. So what would you like to do?
Yeah, bigger pots.
Okay.
I'm a fan of it.
So I'm trying to explain to you why we do certain things. And okay, we just need to tie the tree in with wire. So that is the amount of root we've removed. And this is the root ball, nice and compact. After just a few minutes, we've got to this stage, and we're just going to put it in the pot, and we will pot it up. So there you are. Simple enough. So what we have done today is to show you the thinking process of how we got to this stage, what branches to remove, and we will plant it slightly higher than it needs to be. Just stay there, I'll bring a little shovel.
Do you want me to lift it out?
Yes, please. Many people are afraid of planting it high. I like to plant the trees high. Aesthetically, it looks nicer. Also, this tree could do with a little slant, you know. You see, like this.
Mm.
Don't you think it looks nicer slanting slightly? Then you can still let the tree develop that way. Okay, so let's tie the tree in. Tying, as I say, is just a precaution to prevent the tree falling out. So how did you get into bonsai, Barney? Did you see your
I am a
father?
gardener,
Yeah.
so I like to spend a lot of time in the woods.
Yes.
Looking at beautiful trees as well, and I think it was just a combination of that and lockdown happening,
Okay.
being locked into my own garden.
Okay.
I went to B&Q one day to get some essential stuff to that, this little bonsai. I think it was a Chinese elder or something standing there, and that was the beginning of it. And I started digging up material when we went for woodland walks, because it always asked for permission.
But did you realize that bonsai could be made from anything?
Yeah, and I saw that tree, and I just thought I'm gonna have to give it a go. Yeah.
At what stage did you come across my YouTube videos? Because quite a few people come into bonsai through that.
Well,
You've been doing it prior to that.
yeah, because my father-in-law, he knows yourself. He's been to your nursery before, and he has a few trees in his garden. So I had a conversation with him about it, and he said, "Oh, look at YouTube if you're interested. Peter has some stuff to do." And then I had this workshop gifted for my birthday from my wife.
So there you are. So this tree is all in proportion. I think that pot is quite nice, really, and it'll give it a chance to grow. So there we go.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that's that project done.